Let's go now from Marjorie Taylor Greene to another radical, ignorant Trumpist. I am talking about constitutional scholar Madison Cawthorn. Just kidding. He's not a constitutional scholar. He's actually a radical authoritarian pro-Trump congressman who said it is against the law for airlines to require vaccines for travel. Now, they're not doing that yet, but I hope that they do. In fact, we know from public opinion polls that requiring vaccines to get on an airplane to fly between U.S. states would be extremely effective in getting the anti-vaxxers to go and get a vaccination. And we're going to play a clip in which Madison Cawthorn actually says, you have a constitutionally protected right to free, unrestricted travel within the United States. And it's one of those examples where a little bit of knowledge can become a very dangerous thing when you misunderstand it. Let's listen to Madison Cawthorn.
We should be encouraging them to reject this. This is a medical apartheid, plain and simple. There's over 100 million Americans who are not vaccinated. I think it's even more than that. And if they want to start shutting down air travel for these people to get around the country, I think that's actually a constitutional violation because you actually have a constitutionally protected right to free, unrestricted travel within the United States of America. And I genuinely believe that what's going on right now is that all that's going to happen if United Airlines and American Airlines and Delta even, if they decide to start requiring vaccine mandates, let me tell you, I'm very confident there will be another air carrier that will come to the field and patriots like myself and you will give them all of our business.
Now, that last part is fine. If airlines like United, American, and Delta say we're going to require vaccines, it's completely plausible that someone else will come forward and say we do not require vaccines. Now, if airlines are mandated to require vaccines by the federal authority of the Department of Transportation, then that won't happen. But if it's a decision made by individual airlines, Madison may well be right. Some anti-vax airline might come forward and the anti-vax people like Madison or whoever, Grant Stinkfield, they can go and fly that. But here's where a little bit of knowledge gets people in trouble. Madison Cawthorn repeats, you have a constitutionally protected right to free, unrestricted travel within the United States. Therefore, an airline requiring a vaccine would be unconstitutional. This is a really good teachable moment. You would hope that members of Congress would know this, but they don't. First of all, what we're talking about here is the right to travel domestically under Constitution and the federal law. Now, it's important to understand that it's never been substantially questioned or limited judicially. That's absolutely true. But in 1941, the Supreme Court declared it unconstitutional for California to just restrict the migration of so-called Okies, and that there is a right of free movement as a right of national citizenship, and that has to be that has been upheld under the Commerce Clause. But there are exceptions. There are exceptions. In a 1985 case, the Supreme Court found that the Privileges and Immunities Clause prohibits discrimination against a non-resident from one state, from another state in one state, except where, number one, there is a substantial reason for a different treatment. Non-vaccinated status could be such a reason. And number two, when the discrimination practiced against non-residents bears a substantial relationship to the state's objective. If a state as an objective has reduce COVID spread, you could see a limitation on the ability to freely travel between states. But more importantly, both the president and the Department of HHS and governors have powers when there's a public health emergency that can supersede the right to travel. But throw all of that stuff away. Like, forget about all of that, because there's a bigger issue. Just because you can legally move between states, that doesn't mean airlines have to allow you on their flights and allow you to ignore their requirements. What I mean by that is free travel when it's not limited by emergencies. OK, let's imagine there's no limitation on travel by any governor. No, there's free travel. That generally means if you can get yourself to a border of another state, you can go into that state. You can drive in, you can walk in, whatever. It doesn't mean that if there's a specific airline and a specific flight that requires vaccines, they have to let you on if you're not vaccinated. Imagine saying there's free travel between states. I don't have to be subjected to TSA security because the Constitution grants me free travel between states. Come on, guys, get in a car and drive over there. but that can't be used to say you get to skip security. And along the same lines, as long as vaccine requirements are generally legal for airlines to put in place, which as far as we know right now they are, it is just as legal for an airline as a policy to say we require proof of vaccination for passengers or we require proof of vaccination for employees or both. They really don't get it, but they come up with stuff that to lower information news consumers sounds good. Hey, I do have a right to free travel between states by the Constitution. Sure, get in a car and drive over there. And assuming the road's not closed and assuming if it's a toll road that you pay the toll, right? All of these things. If you can get yourself to the border, you can go in. That doesn't mean you get to go to an airline and say, I'm not abiding by any of your rules. I'm not wearing my seatbelt. I'm going to be standing during takeoff. I don't want to go through security and I don't want to be vaccinated. It's just not the way it works. And unfortunately, Madison Cawthorn continues to convince people with this stuff. He's admitted he's not running a policy office. He's running a PR and communications office. And this stuff gets millions and millions of views and his followers love it. It's all BS. It's all wrong. Conveys a complete misunderstanding of what it means to have free travel between states. But his followers absolutely love it. One of our sponsors is Magic Spoon breakfast cereal, sweet and tasty like the cereals I loved as a kid, but without the sugar or the carbs. Every serving of Magic Spoon has 0 grams of sugar, only 4 net carbs, 140 calories, and packed with 13 grams of protein. Perfect if you're doing keto, perfect if you're doing low carb. Great if you're just trying to reduce your excess sugar intake, and because it's packed with protein, it's great before or after a workout. Magic Spoon flavors include cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, and cinnamon. They're bringing back cookies and cream. They're bringing back maple waffle. You can build your own variety box and try them all. Magic Spoon is so confident in the product, if you don't love it as much as I do, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Go to magicspoon.com/Pacman. The link is underneath this video, and you'll get $5 off when you use the promo code Pacman at checkout.